How's it going, everybody? This is a video about should Christians judge. Now I was gonna have like what is it? It's not an ampersand. It's not an asterisk. It's like those three dots that basically try to show a incomplete sentence. Like should we do something like that, like a pause, like a continuation of sorts. But my topic of the day is should Christians judge. Now, I'm sorry, I'm still trying to work this out. Not sure if this is if anybody can hear me, but a few things happened just recently. I'm not really gonna name what they are, but they're not necessarily. They kind of influence this post, and not entirely, but it has some form of influence. Now, it's basically who should Christians judge. Now, from what I understand, one of the greater topics, especially in today's culture, is don't judge. Do not judge. Do not judge me. Sorry, I'm low. I'm trying to see if I can be heard. No, I'm gonna just walk. Sorry, I'm actually midway to somewhere. Okay, so now the topic is should Christians judge? Now, since the topic of just in American culture, one of them is should people judge anybody else? Don't judge them. Don't judge them. And we have YouTube videos that have people judging each other of whether we want to call it criticism and stuff like that, constructive criticism, judgments to make people better, or just simply judging and condemning them. A lot of words for giving a personal analysis toward another person, toward their detriment, or toward just pointing out flaws and analysis and stuff like that. We give just our perceptions, our views, and just share our thoughts in regards to those views. Now, I thought sort of a particular figure, and I didn't get quite the best response. But also I received a video. I did had a meeting, and the meeting was toward what was the meeting toward? Oh yeah, it was kind of toward like another hot button issue. I don't really care to mention. Let's just say it was one of those things that's like. It's one of those things you maybe shouldn't do at a period in time in your life. Just to put it very vaguely. And so the thoughts regarding this in terms of judgment is 1 Corinthians 5. Now, of course, if I'm right, is it Matthew 7? Now that's toward the don't judge and a bunch of other stuff and good judgment, right judgment, how to judge and how not to judge, and essentially don't judge hypocritically. But that's a giant chapter in regards to it. Now, 1 Corinthians 5 speaks on not just judgment, but more so who should we be judging, especially as people who are in Christ. Who should I be judging? Should I be judging a non-believer who don't know a thing about God and whose minds aren't really tuned into God or have any understanding of the notions of God? Again, I'm gonna have to take a review. I don't know if I'm too loud or not loud enough. It's windy, so I'm just trying to speak clearly and speak loudly, so that I won't get unclear message. But yeah, should Christians who know be judging the non-Christians who don't know? Maybe not, because they don't know. Should we be judging? Should we be fighting for injustice? Pointing out flaws in the system, even though it's not a theocracy? I like to think so. Some people don't agree. And also it's I think because it's not a theocracy, a God-run government, even though we like to claim it is, and American history is very hairy, and American culture is very hairy, very special. I think I've said that a few times personally, is that American culture is a very special thing. It's not something you can dub just like this country or the other country, because a lot of stuff is, as far as I'm concerned, like the school system and stuff like that, it's kind of experimental. We are at a special place in America. we're dealing with racial disharmony and stuff like that. But it's very we're at a very special place in time. They really can't be compared to other countries because other countries are simply not like America. You know, which is a big reason why we say, hey, make America great again. It wasn't great for everybody. It's a special case because America is within its own right. It's not a homogenous country. It's full of different kinds of people with different experiences, different backgrounds, different effects. A lot of collective sociology, a lot of social pathologies. I'm sorry, I'm not even sure if that's the actual term at the last part. But what I mean by is that there's a lot of social conflicts that occurred that affects a wide populace of people today. And it kind of reminds me of Jane Elliott's experiment where she labeled and dubbed a few people as incompetent. And it's funny enough is that confidence helps a lot of people. It reminds me of another video, but let me finish the first one. Is that Jane Elliott's experiment is that she had deemed, as a teacher, she deemed these children. Now before we say, oh, what about the children? I'm like, one second, hold your brakes. Or at least pump them. She dubbed these children who are white. She said, and her experiment was to see the social effects of children who were labeled as almost eternal things, or very static things, such as this person is incompetent, this person isn't. So she labeled, she said that I believe these white students are incompetent, and these black students are not. Are competent. One of them smart, one of them's dumb, one of them smart. The competency is able to think through things essentially and generalize terms of view. They're smart. And incompetence, they're essentially dumb. And so what she learned was that even the smart kids who, after learning this, they be one student who was a student. She became clumsy. Now, of course, I'm kind of taking all this little journal, but you'd have to see the experiment for yourself with Jane Elliott, who was also demonized by a community for what she did. It was, racial disharmony in her time as well. But yeah, when she told her that the AAA student was was being far more clumsy because it's almost like based off this term that she was labeled with, it screwed up her confidence as a person. She became clumsy. She kept making errors. It was almost like that label psychologically just kind of played with her, messed around with her mind, made her think, wow, despite the evidence of her actually being a competent student, being labeled as otherwise messed up with her confidence, and made her think, well, wow, I must not be smart, man. I must be dumb, and it just makes me wonder about with people who are very competent. They've shown by their actions and by the time and the efforts that they put in that they may think themselves. Some people may dub themselves as dumb because maybe their upbringing, they had parents that told them they were dumb. Or society told them they weren't pretty. And also, it's almost like another generalized argument is that some pretty women may not find themselves to be pretty. They may not find themselves to be physically attractive, but everybody else says so. But in their mind, they're not convinced. Similar with depression, they don't believe there's hope, even though they've done things to aspire hope in other people, but they themselves are convinced in their mind. So I think that can be done generationally, I believe, and also similarly on another note, biologically with females in their cycle. It's also said that dominant females typically have the female, biologically speaking, have the submissive female sync up with their cycle. It's a biological thing. So I wouldn't count that any short change or count that as incompetent in me to maybe guess or assert, and maybe I need some citations for it. That generationally, perhaps the African American culture has been dubbed incompetent or dubbed violence worthy or dubbed a lot of things that they themselves have just accepted and made use of, and taken advantage of the idea that they're incompetent. But when they're really not, they're just human beings. Which to me, it always kind of bothers me whenever I hear this blanket statement. Everybody's human beings, but it's like not everybody has been convinced that they're human beings from the jump. You know, but it's like, compare that to a child of any race, and they meet a person who's of a different race, they're not gonna think too much of them. Maybe they'll think from their size, wow, that person's bigger. Maybe they'll think about their sex. Wow, that person's a boy or a girl, you know, but he's an adult. You know, he's cool. I want to be like that person. Like, I don't know. Like, but kids are simple and they think simply. Point is, I'm sorry. Okay, getting back to judgments is. Sorry, I'm really like kind of trailing off. But what I mean in terms of judgments is where are we as Christians, since we're dubbed as judgmental by how we approach things, and from those contextual positions, like, you know, Republicans or this or that, you know, oh, this is my candidate because I'm this, or that's my candidate because I'm that, you know, or man, we're Christians, so Jesus would actually be Republican or something. I like stuff like that. It's like these attachments that are essentially worldly, just they're worldly. And you get, to me, I'm like, I feel like similar to a lawyer, you could use the Bible for any position you want to, but just because you do doesn't really mean anything. You know, it's like you could use any word to twist any word. You just finagle with it, play with it, and there you go. Jesus is either a Democrat or Republican. But in terms of judgment, should we, especially spiritually speaking, should we be judging non-believers? Probably not. They don't know anything about Jesus. Their eyes haven't been open. Should we judge people inside the church? 1 Corinthians 5. Because people, I'm sorry, like those are two different points. I'm sorry. When I mentioned 1 Corinthians 5, it does affirm the idea that we should judge our own people. We should really correct them. We should warn them, pray for them. But at some point, like 1 Corinthians 5, they did throw that person out. They threw him out. There's another point where in the Bible where they accept the person in. Don't know if it's the same person. They accept them back in. They say, okay, you can stop judging them. You know, bring him back in. You know, so there's always this give and take, this push and pull of loving somebody, keeping away from them because they're not trying to aspire to do good, or just aspire to do their own thing, or just they don't really care about Christ. So rather they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want the things of the world, but they say they're Christians. You know, they say their Christian life is valid, but they cling to stuff that Christ scripturally doesn't approve of. And I'm not perfect. Again, no one's perfect. But at the same time, I don't want to use that as an excuse of just suggesting that we can do whatever we want. And the stuff we have done, we shouldn't be held accountable for it. Because I'm like, come on now, like, you could be Christian, and you could have done some actions that were considered illegal. And I don't want to go to that point, but basically it's like, your past can come back for you. Your past and sin can come back for you. And so I say sometimes you just have to be held accountable. As a Christian, if you claim yourself a Christian, I don't care if it's politically for votes or whatever, you claim yourself Christian, you should be warned. You should be criticized. You should be lovingly prayed for. But you should be dealt with and handled accordingly by the church, and great love and respect. But also to not sugarcoat it or tell you, you know, you're doing wrong, but because you said you did it for this reason, it's okay. It's like, well, what does the Bible say? Okay, if the Bible says like, oh, I don't know. I just think that the Bible it's not too unreasonable. It tells you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And if you do something and you're not in the faith, then, you know, just warn that person. Or if they're just not in the faith, I'm sorry. If they are in the faith, warn them. If they're not in the faith, then who are we to judge? Because they're not a God. They are following their own passions. So at the end of the day, I just pray for people. Or at least I like to now. I didn't do it before. I was really trying to defend my point, but for the most part, it's like you do what you're gonna do. So should Christians judge? We should judge Christians, and for non-Christians, maybe not. And for governments, maybe we should just fight against what's right. Defend the oppressed, the poor, the widow. Isn't that what it says in the Old Testament? So, and not sit here and I don't know. I don't know. But that's all I got. I'm sorry if I was a little too loud. But that's all I got.